The GPS that is linked in with our chart plotter, main chart plotter, has decided to fail. So I had a quick look at the connections last night and couldn't find anything wrong, so it may be that the GPS antenna itself has just died. Anyway, we're on to our secondary, our backup. Brought the tablet up on deck. I've now got that running with the navionics. The downside is it doesn't hook into our autopilot and our wind instruments and so on, so it's kind of a separate system, so it's not as accurate, and you certainly can't steer with it. But the autopilot's working. We're just tracking, chasing the wind at the moment. The sun's about to rise. We haven't had a lot of sleep. Hopefully we can get some cat naps today. Wind is very light, maybe 10 knots of wind. We're probably making 5 through the water, but we're only getting about 2.5 over the ground, this tide. The one plus is that the GPS attached to the VHF radio is still working. So that means that our AIS is still transmitting. So I did check with another vessel that we saw a little while ago, and he confirmed that he could see us on AIS. We just can't see anybody else on AIS as our GPS link to the chart plotter is not working. It's complicated and convoluted. I'm hoping there's someone in Saumlaki who can either replace a GPS antenna for us or potentially track down a bad connection somewhere. Anyway, that's the evening. Swinging into the day shift. It's a beautiful morning. So since we got out past Melville Island, we've had the swell coming in from 2 different directions, and we've had the wind very light and not able to overpower the swells. So what happens is the boat's rolling to the swell, sails are collapsing, and then when she rolls back they crack and bang and fill. I've tried steering at 30 degrees either side of the course to Saumlaki, so a total of 60 degrees, and it's just the same because the swells are coming from different directions. It doesn't seem to be making any difference. The only thing we can hope for is that the swell's going to ease and dissipate. Doesn't seem highly likely. When it's flat like right now, you know, we're making 5 knots in the light breeze, which is enough. But when she's rolling and swatting and banging and crashing, we drop down to 4.5s, 4s even. It's going to be a long trip to Saumlaki. We motored for 2 hours today with no sails at all, just because the swell and the wind just wouldn't work together, and we were just flapping the shit out of our sails. And you know, I didn't want to damage them beyond repair, so we ditched them all together. And then about 2 hours after that, a little bit of wind came in, and I was able to set the head sail and keep it mostly full. Still collapsing, you know, when the swells were coming through, but not too bad. And then about 20 minutes ago, the wind finally filled into about 15 knots, which is now overcoming that swell. And the swell has also come down just a little bit, which means we've now set the main and the headsail, and we've got a nice broad reach going on. We did about 12 knots of wind, I reckon, true. And we're making about 5.5 through the water. Nice to have that engine turned off. We've used the engine way too much today. But you know, you've got to do what you've got to do. One of the coolest things of being well offshore, like, you know, over 100 miles offshore, is the seabirds that live out here. And around about late afternoon, I've often found birds circling the boat, and they're just looking for somewhere to rest for the night when the fishing is done. And in the morning they take off and they'll circle the boat again all day fishing, and then come back again at dusk and land on the boat and sleep. Going to New Guinea, I've had that probably 3-4 nights in a row with the same bird just hanging with the boat for 3-4 days. But just to prove the point, we've got a visitor. So he's been circling the boat all day, and then this afternoon was looking for somewhere to land, and he's finally figured out a spot he's happy with. Won't disturb him, I'll leave him there. Once it gets dark, they find it very hard to land. So yeah, he's hitching a ride. So there's Border Force doing an overflight. We're halfway across the Arafura Sea en route to Saumlaki. They know we're going there. And I'm sure they got super duper cameras trained on us. Australian Border Force aircraft. This is Starlight 2. We were just debating whether it was you or Indonesians.
Starlight 2. Australian Border Force aircraft. Can I see you on channel 72?
72 going up. Australian Border Force, Starlight, go ahead.
Starlight 2, this is Border Force 11 on channel 72, just requesting your, just confirming the name of your vessel, and correct spelling, your last port of call, next port of call, and port of rego. Over.
Yeah, Border Force 11, Starlight, Sierra Tango Alpha Romeo Lima India Golf Hotel Tango Tango, with 2 eyes on the end for the 2, so it's Starlight 2. Port of registration is Able Point, Alpha Bravo Echo Lima Lima Point, Able Point. Last port of call was Darwin, and we are headed for Saumlaki.
Starlight 2, this is Border Force 11. Copy all those details. Have a good sail. Border Force 11, changing to channel 1.
Yeah, Starlight going back to It's been a rolly, podgy, weird kind of day. Still pretty rolly, but at least now we're getting enough wind to overcome the swell, which means the sails are staying full. So we're making a nice 6 knots now. We've managed to turn the engine off. It's been off for a couple of hours now. Hopefully this wind stays in through the night. It's just an ETA at Saumlaki tomorrow. Yeah, probably mid to late afternoon. Hopefully anchored there late afternoon. That would be awesome. Yeah, it'd be truly awesome. Oh, Tan's feeling seasick. She doesn't do too well on these trips. Beautiful sunset though. See you in the morning. Morning, day 3, Darwin to Saumlaki. It's been quite a good sailing night actually. We made 7 knots most of the night. The wind filled into about 15 knots on a reach, and Starlight loves that, so she just took off. Dawn's breaking now. The wind has eased off a bit. It's down to around sort of 10 to 15, 10 to 12, something like that. But we're still moving along at a comfortable 5 knots, so that's really nice. We've got 45 miles to go to Saumlaki, and I'll tell you what, I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't had a lot of sleep for the last few days. Managed to catch some 1-hour cat naps during the night. Tan took the watch for me for a short while. So that's good. The wind has filled in again. It's hopping along about 7 knots. We're getting about 15 knots of breeze on a nice reach again. And we're only about 35 miles out of Saumlaki, and so the island just south of that, Palau Salar, or Salari, should be coming into visibility soon. I reckon we'll start to see land within the next hour or two, because we'll be about 30 miles out, depending on how high the land is, of course. I got the impression that it was quite hilly, I guess, so there'd be something to actually see. If it was low lying and flat, we wouldn't see it, and so we're pretty much on it. But I've got a feeling this is all volcanic and quite steep, quite lofty hills and stuff. If that's the case, then we should see it pretty soon. If not, then we won't. But I'm hoping I'm going to see Indonesia in the next couple of hours. That's exciting. I doubt you can see that behind me, but that's the island of Palau Salari, or Salar, in Indonesia. So we've made it all the way across. This is actually my second foreign landfall. I've been to Papua New Guinea half a dozen times. To be able to make a new one, it really feels fantastic. It's been a challenging crossing too, very rolly. Certainly day one was pretty flat, but we had to fight all the currents through from Darwin through to the Tiwis via Vernon Islands, and then from there, well, we fought current and slop and tide and no wind for most of day two, until finally late in day two we picked up some wind and we had a cracking sail yesterday afternoon and all night last night, and we sailed all morning this morning. Finally found some land, feeling pretty good about it. We're about, I can actually just start to see Saumlaki, land in Saumlaki appearing ahead of us, about 11 to 12 miles away. Must be a fair bit of mist in the air. 11 to 12 miles, I would expect to see it earlier than that. But anyway, so we'll be there in a couple of hours. We should be anchored by about 3 o'clock this afternoon, hopefully, if all goes well. And then looking forward to a meal and a good night's sleep. Definitely, that's what I really need right now. Due to the GPS failure we had on the evening of day one, I had to switch across to our tablet. I think a pretty clever way to put that was on top of our hatch here, so I can see it, almost see it from the helm station. Anyway, the reason I'm showing you is so that you can see the entrance that we're making here to Saumlaki. So this is how far we've come. There's Darwin all the way back here. We came up through here through the Vernon Islands and then all the way north. And I know it doesn't look very far, but it's taken us a good 2.5 days to get here. So we're going to split between these two islands, Pulau Astebun and Pulau Matkus. Then we're going to head into Saumlaki Bay here. And the plan is to anchor somewhere here. Somewhere along here, just where the water's a little bit deeper. I'm not quite sure what these symbols are. It says dolphin. That doesn't make any sense. I'm assuming a submarine cable maybe. It's about all I can think of anyway. Wait and see when we get in there. Either there or right there, one of the two. So we'll either be here or there. Do I look exhausted? I am. It's been a long trip across. Quite a challenging one, certainly in parts. But we're here. Saumlaki. It's taken off the end of the jetty here, which was recommended by our agent, who I guess will find us tomorrow. And we've got our Q flag up. For those who don't know, this is a necessity when you're about to clear in somewhere. Just have to let everyone know that you are under quarantine until you're cleared. And on the port side is our port of registration, or our nation of registration. We're Aussie, so we got an Aussie flag up. Whoa, we got an Aussie flag up. It's good to see that flying. And once we've cleared in, this Q flag will come down and be replaced by an Indonesian courtesy flag.